I have now gotten this question a handful of times from various places around the worldwide interwebs, asking if I have my own specific daily guitar routine, and indeed I do. So I thought it might be helpful and beneficial to you all to show you what that current routine is, because it does change every few weeks. I would say every 4-ish weeks it changes based on how I'm feeling with that specific routine. And so if you do find this helpful and beneficial, it gives you some valuable insights, then comment below that you'd like to see the next routine, my next daily routine that I'll go through for 4-ish weeks or so, and I will show you all that one when I get there, all right? But for now, if you want to check this one out and you want to get it under your fingers, grab your guitar and let's jump in. Exercise 1, really simple. Again, this is like the first time we're touching or picking up this instrument for the day. So we want it to be, I guess that's the word, pretty relaxed, right? Pretty simple stuff. So we're gonna go through the major scale in 5 different shapes. I'll show you the first shape and you'll see how I go through it, and then you'll go through the other 4 shapes on your own. But it's this shape right here. I have it up. I'm going through it in groups of 4, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, 7, 5, 6, 7, 1, 6, 7, 1, 2, 7, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, 7, 5, 6, 7, 1, right? And then we come back down. Notice as I'm going through this, I'm pushing myself to be a little bit, extra relaxed, exaggerating some looseness, right? So picking hand, I could probably play a little bit lighter. I want you all to hear what I'm playing, but almost playing, especially if you're plugged in to where, you can almost barely hear it coming through the amp. All right, really checking in on the subtleties of your, fretting hand. Where's your thumb on the back of the guitar? Are you coming over? That's a bad habit of mine. Are you really, in the right place as far as putting pressure with your thumb? Are you over squeezing? Are you, under squeezing so that the notes aren't ringing out? Just things like that. So you should also not be going at a pace that's, forcing you to make mistakes. Again, this is to get you feeling confident for all of those songs and solos that are a bit out of reach later on in your session. All right, so you're not going to be feeling very confident, or you might, feel like you're confident, but on the unconscious level, you're going to be coming in with that kind of monkey on your back, like, I've already made some mistakes, I can't play at a certain tempo, things like that. So it should be really in your wheelhouse. Etc., etc. No mistakes, really clean playing, okay? Now, obviously, that's shape 1, G major. You can also do these 5 shapes in any other key. So if you feel really, really comfortable in G major, I don't know, go to E flat, right? Go to a key you don't often play in, and it'll throw a little tiny wrench into your approach to these shapes. And you just want to make sure you're staying really sharp. If you think you are an expert in the major scale, I would push on that. I would check that. Such a divider between beginners, intermediates, and experts and advanced level players is that mastery over the basics. And you can have so many aha moments when you really, really hammer these patterns and you do it in this methodical way. All right, so in the description, there is a PDF, a free download, as always, right? I don't ask for emails, I don't ask for social securities, yada, yada, yada. There's no gimmick, anything like that. It's a simple Google Drive link. It has all of the exercises that we're going over today. So in that PDF, you will have each of the 5 shapes for exercise 1 in G major, like I said, you can transpose them to different keys, move it up 2 frets, you're in the key of A, right? Move it up, 4 frets, you're in the key of B, right? So you can play around with that as you get more and more comfortable, okay? There's exercise 1. Sorry that I give you so much context. I just think it's really important. If we're gonna do my thing, I want you to do it right. Exercise 2 is gonna be triads. We're gonna keep everything for the most part in G major, certainly the first 3 exercises. So we're just gonna go through every single triad shape on the 3-2-1 string set, G, B, and high E. So obviously we start with the G chord, right? So we're gonna play everything in this first series. It'll be between the 2nd and 5th fret. So G, A minor, B minor, C major, D major, E minor, F sharp diminished, G. All right? Already right there, there's all of the major and minor triad shapes. All right? We've gone through them all. They will repeat up here. Different chords will have different shapes as we move around the neck, but just keep that in mind. We've already gone through all the major, minor. There's only one diminished chord. All right? So those will reveal themselves, right? Each of those positions will reveal themselves as we move around the neck. But there's that first area in the tabs. Let's call it section 1. All right, and then I would go back down the scale. Right, so there's the scale in triads. Right, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, back to G. All right, and if we went back down the opposite direction, G, F sharp diminished, E minor, D, C, B minor, A minor, G. Okay? Up and down. If you are finding this helpful, if you're finding this to be beneficial and valuable, of course, do make sure to like the video itself and subscribe to the channel. I got lots of good stuff on the channel already. I will have lots of good stuff coming out in the near future, so just make sure to do that if you find this helpful. If you like my approach, it's helpful for me, gets this information out to more people, and makes me feel good about myself. All right, let's move up to the second section. So you'll see that in the tabs. It'll be labeled as section 1, section 2. So now we're playing the G like this. All right, then we're playing A minor here, then B minor here. Notice, right, we just played A minor like this. It's the same shape. And we played B minor like this. We're going to be playing E minor with that same shape. So that's what I meant when I was saying, we've already played all of the important major minor shapes. We're doing the same thing, up here, but G looked like this in the first section, and now G looks like this in the second section. It'll look like this in the third section. All right, so G, A minor, B minor, C major, D major, E minor, F sharp diminished, G. If you're not familiar with these shapes, you can say them out loud as you go through them. Right? That can be very, very helpful. So that G, so that when you play this or you want access to a G triad, this is where it's at, right? G, then we go back down, F sharp diminished, E minor, D major, C major, B minor, A minor, G. All right? So there's section 2. Now I will say, I don't just go up and down once in this scenario, right? Because it's a little bit quicker to get through things in this exercise, I do set a 5-minute timer. And section 1, section 2, section 3. Section 1, section 2, section 3. Maybe you get through, 2 or 3 minutes and you go, all right, I am feeling pretty good with this pace. Let me bump it up, right? We've, with exercise 1, we've synced up our fretting and picking hand in our brain. So maybe this is the opportunity. You can bump things up, and we're getting more reps in each section. So just something to think about. But again, you should not be making mistakes, right? Bump it up by 3 BPM, 5 BPM. It shouldn't be massive jumps, to where it's super, super fast and unmanageable. All right. So the third section, we're playing the G like this. We're playing the A minor here. We're playing the B minor here, the C major here. We're playing the D here, E minor, the F sharp diminished Might be a little funky for you here, and then the G. All right, so take your time. If you're newer to these shapes, you don't have to set the metronome. You can kind of just work your way through the shapes. And obviously this isn't a, triad master class. I will say I have a video where I think it's pretty helpful. There's a triad specific, routine and exercises and things like that I think are really helpful for breaking down triad. So I'll link that right here. But this isn't that. We're just going through the exercise itself. But something you can do as you're going through it is kind of check out, okay, here's a G, here's a G, here's a G. Okay, well, that same G up here is C down here, right? C, C. Just to get those, things kind of in your brain. You don't have to necessarily do anything with the information yet, but it's good to just, remind yourself, oh yeah, the beautiful thing about the guitar is we can just like take a few shapes and paste them everywhere, right? So it's that really kind of those beautiful gifts the guitar can give us from time to time. So keep that in mind. If you aren't super familiar with these, that's how you kind of bake them in, and say the chord names out loud as you're going through it. Okay, that can be really helpful, so that you're very aware of what's going on as you go through things. And again, it'll be more and more baked into your system. Okay. So there's exercise 2. We're moving along. All right. I know there was a lot of context on that first exercise, but let's just keep chugging along. The third exercise is really simple arpeggios, and there's 7 arpeggios, 7th chords arpeggios. So again, we're going to keep things in G major just to keep things simple and efficient for now, but move this around based on your comfort levels. If you're way comfortable with these arpeggios in this key, you're somebody who's always playing in G major, move it around. Go to a key you don't play in that much. Go to B flat, whatever. Okay. Well, we're going to do the G major 7. So based on this chord right here. All right, so that's going to be the first section, the first arpeggio shape. We're going to inch up to C, and now instead of going from here to here, which is what we did on G, we're going to go here, right, 3rd fret of the A string, to 7th fret of the A string. Okay, so that's the second shape. And you can play around with your own preference as far as, fingering is concerned. You could go index to pinky, that's what I'm doing, but you can go index to ring and make that jump, and then, go to middle, index, middle. Right? You can go ring and pinky on a high E. Right? You can slide. Up to you. But there's the first 2 shapes. So the chord progression would be G major 7, C major 7. Then we're going A minor 7. Right? So there's the chord shape we're basing this around. And there's the arpeggio. Notice we never come back to the root note, right? We're ending on the 3rd. There's the 3rd. There's the 3rd, minor 3rd, all right? And then we're going to D7, right? A dominant chord. Right? We hit a minor 7 when we're in a dominant chord. So here's the shape that we're basing this arpeggio off of. Right? If a major 7 has an actual major 7 note in it, the 7th chord, right, dominant 7, flattens that to a minor 7. So there's a major tone with the 3rd, and then there's a minor tone with the 7. That's what gives it its own, unique flavor. And and then back to G. So we're just going through this progression, which would be a 1, 4, 2, right? This is the second note in the G major scale. This is the fourth, so 1, root, 4, 2, and then 5. And then back to G major 7, all right? So G major 7, C major 7, A minor 7, D7, right? Dominant 7, but you can just call it D7, okay? 4 chords, 5-minute timer yet again. And again, you can be really comfortable with these things. They're still going to be great for warming your hands up, for really just linking up and syncing up with your guitar. That's the main deal here. That's the goal, all right? So first 3 exercises, relatively simple. You should be feeling really good. You should have that mind-muscle connection, that human to inanimate object connection right now. And then exercise 4, I usually give myself something to have a little fun with, go a little wild. It's not too wild. We're just playing a little guitar here, but it's a little piece of a solo. It's a part of it's how he finishes off, Stevie Ray Vaughan, it's how he finishes off the Mary Had a Little Lamb solo. It's something I was chatting about with a student of mine. Is there a way you can kind of bring solos into your practice if there's a part you're not getting? Absolutely, and this is one of the ways to do it. And so that's what we're going to do. So here is what it sounds like, and this is going to be exercise 4. It's just that finishing piece on repeat. All right, so there's 2 main differences between how I'm playing it and how Stevie Ray Vaughan plays it. First off, my guitar is in standard tuning. Second off, I'm not playing it as fast as he plays it in the song. Again, we're sending ourselves off to all of the things we want to learn, all the things we don't know yet, in a great way. All right, this is our beautiful send-off, everything we've worked on in the first 3 exercises, kind of this culmination and just having a little bit of fun. And it's a great little lick. There's some awesome alternate picking. Again, I'm giving you the tabs. I don't want to turn this into like a breakdown of that specific section. If you really want to hear it out for yourself, go on, YouTube, you're already here, type in Mary Had a Little Lamb, go into the settings and bring things down to like 50 or 60% speed, right? So that you can really hear out that section of the solo if this is something you want to work on. This might give you an idea where, oh yeah, I can slow things down and be repetitive with the really fast part of the Bohemian Rhapsody solo, right? And now you bring that into your playing, okay? So, one more time, it's this little rake up. We're meeting the high E and the B strings, right? Kind of like what I call a soft bar into a bend. All right, so that's just the first part. I know I only broke down the first part and then played the rest. Right, so we have this alternate picking, I like to kind of sweep down, so we're raking up. That's all, a nice little section of alternate picking. Again, when you hear him play it, it's very, very fast. So you want to kind of go through the finesse in, this practice routine, in a practice context. And, as I'm saying this, it's basically an alternate picking routine when you put it into this context. There's some nice bends, but there's no, wild bends that are really extreme. There's that rake, and he does it a few times where he brings in those additional strings. Very Stevie Ray Vaughan kind of. Right? That kind of nice flavor. But for me, this would be an alternate picking routine because of how fast he plays it and how on point you need to be with your alternate picking to make the sound really good. And of course, I would want to probably play it even slower to clean up any blemishes. You can hear some blemishes as I'm playing, but I would have done alternate picking on exercise 1 and exercise 3. You can play with sweep picking on your, when you're doing the arpeggios, but I'm an alternate picking guy. I don't usually, for my style and what I like to do on the guitar, I don't usually need to do sweep picking. If I want to spice things up, I can. But anyways, we're taking exercise 1 and 3, and in my mind, really putting it into practice with this lick. But there's the whole freaking routine, all right? Hopefully it was beneficial to you. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Like I said, like the video and subscribe to the channel if you did find it helpful. There is that downloadable PDF. I will have already flashed another reminder, maybe even 2 reminders at this point to download that, but that'll be really important for getting these exercises under your fingers and not needing to come back to the actual video every single time you want to go through this routine. You can utilize this whenever you'd like if you just download that freaking PDF. All right, so that's my final plug on that, and there's the deal. So enjoy, and I will see you all on the next one. Peace.